Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 348. Wow, almost to 350. Well, welcome everyone to the JP8 Report. Wow, about 15 minutes ago, if you had already brought up and was waiting for the podcast, you would notice that you had to refresh it because I changed the title because I wrote the title of it said, "Is Thune even listening?" But then I was listening to the president. President Trump was on the South Grounds. Was he on the South Grounds? Yeah, he's on the South Grounds for the Catch This Chopper, and he was taking questions, and he said, quote unquote, Thune needs to be a leader, because there was a question that they were asking about if he was even serious about the SAVE Act and stuff, and he was complaining because he said he could bring it up, but he doesn't have the votes and stuff, and that's when the president said Thune needs to be a leader. And so that's more of an appropriate title for the podcast. So I changed it because I have that capability of changing the title before I go live, and plus I can edit it later on if I want. If I want to name it Mickey Mouse Goes Dancing 6 hours from now, I can, but nobody would watch it. Well, maybe. And then I was watching Fox News right before I came in to sit down. And okay, so I live in Copper's Cove, so we have Central Texas State Veteran Cemetery about 7 or 8 miles from here. And we have what they call unaccompanied burials there. And that's when family members are not known or aren't able to attend a veteran's funeral, right? And we have quite a bit of them, probably like, I think one a week or so, something like that. And then, but they were talking about this one. It was the Middle Tennessee State Veteran Cemetery in Tennessee, right? And there was one Navy veteran that died, and the word got out that he had no known family members, and they turned out for his veteran's funeral. And people on the set were actually breaking down, especially Emily Campagno, and she looked like she was actually about to bawl her eyes out. But we see it all the time here. We just don't have it really heavily publicized. We see it on Facebook. We see it in the Killeen Daily Herald. So we try to get people from the community to go out there for the funeral and stuff. But it was really good that they actually broadcast that on TV so people understand that there are veterans that pass that with no known relatives to be able to pay their respects to him or her. All right. But thanks for letting me vent on that one just a little bit, because that's a touchy subject. That's because a lot of us are veterans and we're all going to die one day. But thanks a lot for tuning in to the JP8 Report. If you are watching this and you're not, you have never clicked that follow button for the JP8 Report, please do so. All right, click that follow button and click the like button. That's the thumbs up, like this, just like Trump, thumbs up. All right, and then you can chat in the chat. I got 2 people in the chat right now. My buddy Richard and my buddy Rob are both in there, egging to get going on if anyone wants to actually chat with them. Oh, wow. I like that American flag. That's pretty cool. But I'm going to play this game too. I'm going to put a Texas flag in. So someone hey, if you're watching this, put a flag in the live chat, okay? I'm going to put Texas flag because I'm in Texas. And that's part of my history, part of the A250 and T190 for the day. All right, so let's get started. I got a general order from Cambridge. They're in the middle of the Battle of Boston. All right. So there may not be the lasting pretext for delay, as the general is determined to march the whole or any part of this army in incident occasion shall require. His Excellency, that that refers to General Washington. His Excellency desires that not a moment's time may be lost in preparing for the march. The colonels will pay particular attention to the clothing of their men to prevent any unnecessary preparations. The general informs the officers and soldiers that it is his desire and expectation that they encumber themselves with as little baggage as possible. As part of the enormous expense of the continent, teams cannot be procured in superfluous articles. It will be well if sufficient can be found to answer all requisite services. The nature of the service we are engaged in is such as to require light troops ready at all times and upon all occasions for forced marches and less baggage. Therefore, officers and men will be encumbered with, the better. The recruiting service is to be continued, but the recruits and all the men upon furlough, leave, are to join the respective regiments immediately. The general being desirous of selecting a particular number of men as a guard for himself and baggage, the colonel or commanding officer of each of the established regiments, the artillery and riflemen accepted, will furnish him with 4, and that number may be chosen out of them. His Excellency depends on the colonels for good men, such as they can be recommended for their sobriety, honesty, and good behavior. He wishes them to be from 5 feet 8 inches high and to 5 feet 10 inches, handsomely, well, that excludes me, and well made. And there is nothing in his eyes more desirable than cleanliness in a soldier. He desires that particular attention be made in the choice of such men as are neat and spruce, and they be all at the headquarters tomorrow precisely at 12 at noon. I guess they didn't know what 12 meant. When the number wanted to be fixed upon, the general neither wants men with uniforms or arms, nor does he desire any man to be sent to him that is not perfectly willing and desirous of being on this guard. They should be drilled men. The general desires that those colonels who have not furnished the arrangement of the officers will do forthwith with the inspection of brigadiers, who are to certify them the same. Also, that requires the brigadiers to see that the returns are made and that the commissions may issue. So you might be saying, what does all that mean? So on this day in 1776, General Washington established the Commander's Guard. I guess that was men from each regiment around Cambridge had to detail men over to General Washington's Guard regiment. Those are the ones that are to establish the protective perimeter, like a protective service team around the general and his staff. All right, and I guess that would be the old guard that's still on active duty in Washington, D.C., that oversees the Tomb of the Unknown. So I will be in Georgetown, Dr. Plum. Oh, okay. So I do think this is the old guard. The old guard, if you did not know, is the oldest continuing serving unit in the United States Army. All right. There's your history lesson for the Army. The 3rd Infantry Regiment. And then Texas 190. Okay, this is March 11th, 1836. As General Sam Houston arrived in Gonzales, that's where we have Come and Take It, right? As General Sam Houston arrived in Gonzales on March 11th, 1836, to take command of the gathered Texian forces there, he soon learned that the Alamo had fallen. Realizing that this small command was not equipped to meet the full force of the Mexican army, he ordered a rapid withdrawal to the Colorado River. And that happened 190 years ago. So the next shoe to drop is Goliad, just south of Gonzales, will be captured within the next week. And toward the end of March would be the massacre at Goliad also. So that's your Texas history. General Scene, Houston. President, governor, and senator from two different countries. Well, he wasn't president of the United States, but he was a governor and he was a U.S. senator also. All right. So, quick update. What I have still is no further update on Stephen over at the Dalmatian, but he did come out of ICU. He's recovering in the hospital. We got to give him another month or two before the Dalmatians are back. So just be patient with those guys. All right. I'll go over here. Also, we're yesterday, if you don't remember, yesterday was the 6-month mark from Charlie Kirk's assassination in Utah. So I saw Graham Allen doing it, and a couple others were talking about it also. But let's just give a moment of silence just to remember Charlie Kirk and his family. All right. So. All right. So onward through the rest of the JP8 report. Thanks a lot. Iran update. Iran update, Operation Epic Fury. The U.S. destroys 16 Iran mine ships. That brings the number, I believe the president said 60. I think it's what he said. Well, 60 or 51, one of the two. All right, that they've sunk. There were drone strikes. There was drone strikes in Iraq in the international zone where the embassy is. It struck an airport. It struck a parking lot next to a guard tower at the diplomatic support center. Iran and Hezbollah are dropping cluster munitions from their missiles. They keep firing at Israel. 4 people were wounded. Iran is said they're not fighting. Okay, 51. Okay, thanks, Rob. I have online fact checking for me. I appreciate it. That was retired Rob 53 just informed me the number is 51 ships that are no longer part of the Iranian Navy. Out of a navy of probably 51 ships. Now they're counting fishing vessels, right? The UN is supposed to have a vote today for the Gulf Arab states in a resolution to condemn Iran for their actions, what they're doing. The only problem is if that goes through, China or Russia can always veto the resolution. We'll see. We'll see. And then, let's see. Secretary of State says 43,000 Americans are back in the United States. 6 Iranian, it should be 5. 5 Iranian soccer athletes from the Iranian national women's soccer team, and 1 staff member was given asylum in Australia. The other 20 went back to Iran. And then Saudi Arabia intercepted 2 missiles headed for an oil field in what they call the empty sector of Saudi Arabia. It's in the south part of Saudi Arabia, like what I said earlier. There's more sand than people. All right. That is all I have for the Iran update. I tried listening to the president to see if anything new came out. I did not hear anything else. It looks like the news is getting used to us in combat actions right now. They're not putting out as much material unless it's derogatory. I did hear one thing. This one crazy guy in the rope line asked the president, did he hear from about the MP or something like that, members of parliament, in the Iraqi government that said, he said, death to America, death to Israel. And the president said, that's a stupid question. And he moved on. Smart move, Mr. President. Okay. So let's see. John Thune. I have an opinion piece here from David Marcus about John Thune. I have my own theories. You know, when I was coming up as a youngster, being in the army, you really can't say much. You're not supposed to mix politics in the army because, you got this thing called the Hatch Act. But so a lot of us people in the army, both conservative and liberal, we just didn't talk about it because it's all about the guy on your left and the guy on your right in military operations. So you want to concentrate and have a conducive chain of command and a brotherhood right beside you. But I've followed John Thune since he was a congressman. And I was like, this is a great guy from South Dakota. He really stands for what he believes in. And then he got elected to the Senate. I'm like, great, they got a great guy in the Senate. And then as time went on, he got reelected, and he got reelected again, and then changed. And then he became the Senate Majority Leader because the turtle, Mitch McConnell, is retiring from the U.S. Senate. I don't understand what's wrong with him because he's a Republican and he should be supporting the president, and he's not. He's stonewalling the president. He's acting just like Mitch McConnell, and I don't know if it's because he desires to be in the minority so he can yell and scream and holler like the rest of the people, like both Bongino and Graham Allen were saying today, that there's a part of the Republicans out there that wishes that we were in the minority so they can make more money, get more clicks, get more viewers, because that's what they desire. They want to be that mouthpiece to yell and scream that people will listen to them, and that's just not so. You're screwing America over with what you are doing, Mr. Thune. You have the propensity to be a great speaker, but you're stonewalling. You have people over and over to tell you that you need to get rid of the blue slip process for federal courts. You have to. You have to do away with the gentleman's filibuster, where you can say, I threaten I'm going to filibuster, so let's not have a vote on it. Instead of making that person stand their ground and tell everyone why they don't support that bill, which is what a filibuster is. And then you have your cloture vote, and the way Robert's Rules of Order is, you have a motion, you have a second, you have the person that makes the motion gets to speak first, the person that makes the second gets to speak next, and you alternate from both sides of the aisle, and you get to go back and you get to do it one more time, and then you vote. That's a filibuster, all right? Unless you can cloture first, right? So David Marcus, he's talking about our primary we just had here in Texas last Tuesday between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton and Wesley Hunt. Wesley Hunt lost, right? But this is what they said. About 60% of Texas Republicans voted last Tuesday to end John Cornyn's career in the Senate, which is very true. But it wasn't really Cornyn they were rejecting. It was the feckless, do-nothing GOP Senate leadership that makes waiting for the something GODOT look like a fast and furious. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton wound up in a virtual tie with Cornyn and headed to a runoff because the Republican voters, not just in Texas but across the country, are incandescently angry at the GOP-controlled Senate's inability to do well much of anything. The righteous fury is why Paxton's political play in the face of a runoff was so brilliant. He said that if the Senate would pass the Save America Act and its voter ID provisions, he would drop out, saving President Donald Trump from having to swoop in with a decisive endorsement. For Cornyn, and more importantly to Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican rhino from South Dakota, this occasioned a crisis of a much-needed one. In fact, as GOP voters stare across the stark desk of the Senate leadership, like the Bobs in Office Space, asking if they can't pass a bill with massive public support, what would they say they do there? Which is true. They eat bonbons and prop their feet up and watch soap operas. That's what they do. Thune responded Monday to growing public calls to pass the Save America Act in the stupidest, most infuriating way possible by asserting that voters aren't really angry and the furor of just a campaign of paid influencers. Well, Mr. Senator, I'm an influencer and I'm not paid. I do this free of pay because I don't have sponsors that give me money like that. And I'm freely doing that with my retirement check that I got from the government. This is my way of saying you're screwed up. And same thing with Barrasso and whoever else is in the Senate majority leadership. They need to be rotated out and gone. You need to put people in there like Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, and people like that. Don't put Rand Paul in there. He ain't no leader, right? The fact that Thune has not apologized for this yet is incredible. It is condescending to working class voters as anything as a politician has ever said. Does Thune think that 60% of Republicans in Texas voting against the Senate status quo is a sign that they think he's doing a great job? You better believe he's not doing a great job. And John Cornyn is going to go down because he's as feckless as, John Cornyn is part of that leadership team too. He's going to lose his primary. Do they think he's doing a great job? It is not. All across the country, Republican voters tell me, that'd be David Marcus, that they need and that they are optimistic about the Senate. Yes, they understand the arcane 60-vote filibuster stuff. They just don't care. They want and need action from a body that refuses to act. And it isn't just Paxton who knows in his bones that how virtually GOP voters need a win on the Save America Act. It is also Trump, who has shown a rare amount of patience with Thune's ineptitude and calculence, as far as, at least so far. Even Cornyn, who has come around, if only in the face of his own potential political demise, penning a column in the New York Post calling for the filibuster to be abandoned and act to be passed, which I almost printed that opinion piece out. I might just do that just to see where he stands, but I don't believe a word coming out of John Cornyn's mouth at all. If you agree with me, say something in the chat. If you agree that John Cornyn is truthful, what he said in that New York Post opinion piece, or if he's just trying to save his hide in the runoff election on May 26th, because I don't trust him. I don't trust him not one iota. He needs to go. He's been in the Senate since 2003. Cut sling load, get him out, replace him, put Ken Paxton in there, and change out the complete leadership of the Senate Majority Party. Okay, Okay, John, then how about this? Any Republican senator who refuses to vote to break the filibuster loses their committee assignments, gets no money from the party, and is promised a primary. Let me say that again. Okay, John Thune, Senate Majority Leader, then how about this? Any Republican senator who refuses to vote to break the filibuster loses their committee assignments, gets no money from the party, and is promised a primary. I completely agree with that. That is the best sentence that I read in this whole thing so far. If you agree with me, put something in. Thumbs down. Thumbs down about John Thune, or losing their committee assignments if they vote against the filibuster. I had someone chiming in on the chat. I'm going to continue on before I lose track of my time. I'm waiting for Rob to respond. The most dangerous thing I heard from the GOP voters in Texas, and I heard it from plenty, is that they are starting to think their vote just doesn't matter, that nothing can change anyway, and right now, who would argue with them? I don't know who Thune surrounds himself with or who told him that the anger I see everywhere from Republican voters is just a paid influencer campaign. Oh, both. Okay. But I urge him to talk to some actual voters instead of his Cage Street cronies. Yeah. Go to Bismarck or Pierre, South Dakota. Talk to people. Go to Aberdeen, South Dakota. Go to Killeen, Texas and talk to people. Or Fort Worth or Dallas. Talk to someone. What is your view of what's going on? Do you think we should support the SAVE Act? I'm sure a vast majority, 9 out of 10, would say pass it. Get rid of the filibuster and pass it. I'm tired of this nonsense. It was an ominous sign that more Democrats and Republicans voted in last week's deep red Texas primary, but not a surprise because the demoralized aren't eager voters. And if the Save America Act dies on the vine, even fewer will feel compelled to cast a ballot. In the final moments of waiting for Godot or something like that, Vladimir says, well, shall we go? To which the Astrogon replies, yes, let's go. And then from the famous stage direction, they don't move. I have no idea what he's talking about. There is no direct evidence to show Samuel Beckett was inspired by Senate Republican leadership when he wrote this, but could have been because the same old scene over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day. If nothing else, Thune needs to look GOP voters in the eye and say directly, we hear you, we know you are angry, we see it in the primary results, and we will listen to what you want and try to do better. I would say he would have to swallow some crow before he says that. Right now, Thune and Senate Republicans are the inattentive husband who doesn't know the divorce papers have already been filed. It may not be too late to work it out with voters, but it's getting pretty close. And David Marcus is a columnist in West Virginia and the author of Charade, The COVID Lies That Crushed the Nation. Yeah, well, that's true too. What do y'all think? So I know I'd have some Texans in there. If you voted today for the Senate in the primary May 26th, right? Who would you vote for? John Cornyn or Ken Paxton? And I'm going to go first. That's my vote. That's who I'm voting for in the primary. All right? John Thune needs to get off his fourth point of contact, and he needs to go to work. If it takes demolishing the filibuster uh, to get things going, so be it. So be it. All right. All right. So in other election news, see, look at that. We got people like Ken Paxton. Awesome. I know there's more out there. You can live outside the state of Texas. If you want Ken Paxton to be our U.S. Senator from Texas, put us a comment in the chat, please. All right. All right. So there was primary elections in Mississippi and in Georgia last night. All right. And I lost. Oh my goodness. Okay, I got more than that. All right. Let's do the primary stuff next. So this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, an individual is being questioned about driving a vehicle into a temporary security barrier near the White House on Wednesday morning. The driver, who has not been identified, struck the barrier just before 6:30 a.m. near Madison and 8th Streets in Northwest. Secret Service uniformed police officers immediately apprehended the driver of the vehicle. The individual is currently being interviewed. The spokesman added that criminal charges were pending, though not immediately specify what kind. The Metropolitan Police Department Explosive Ordnance Disposal also responded to the scene. Secret Service spokesman said the team cleared the vehicle and declared the scene safe. And then there was no injuries immediately reported. So that is all that I've heard about this whole incident. That's all. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that, but thank goodness we have those anti-vehicle barriers to prevent people from entering into the 18 acres. All right. That's the White House complex, if you didn't know. All right. So elections. While we're talking about elections, the president is on his way to Ohio and Kentucky right now. All right. And I'll get to that in just a minute, too. Okay. Trump touts the 5-0 sweep and endorsed candidates on Tuesday's primary elections. President Donald Trump took a bow Tuesday night for his 5-0 record and his endorsed candidates in the Republican elections held in Mississippi and Georgia. March 10th election update. 5 wins, 0 losses. An election night image posted to Truth Social. President Trump endorsements 100%. The image held a 4-0 record in Mississippi. That would be Cindy Hyde-Smith, and then Mike Ezel and Michael Guest, Trent Kelly. And in Georgia, they took one. Okay. So Cindy Hyde-Smith, this is her first re-election bid. And she won, and it's going to be, a rematch. The person she destroyed 6 years ago, I guess, once more, and he went at it. So he wants more of it, so he's going to waste all that money. Let's see. President Trump's endorsed candidates keep winning because Republican voters trust his leadership and he's a real leader. John Thune, I keep harping on John Thune. He is not a true leader. He needs to look up at the president for leadership. All right. And one American First champions in Congress, RNC spokeswoman Emma Hall told Fox News, from cutting taxes to securing the border, every Republican candidate in the country is proudly running on President Trump's record and competing for his endorsement because it remains the single most decisive factor in the GOP primaries. In one marquee matchup, an all-party special election in the House. Okay, that's going to be another one I read in just a second. Republican Clay Fuller earned an April 7th runoff against Democrat Sean Harris in a seat vacated by former Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia's solid red 14th congressional district. That district is R plus 37, right? And you tell me why in an R plus 37 that in a jungle primary that the Republican still finishes second place. I don't get it. What is Marjorie Taylor Greene doing in that district to prevent the Republican turnout that we need? Clay Fuller is going to be a fantastic congressman in representing the great state of Georgia, Trump wrote Wednesday morning on True Social. He should win with no problem on April 7th. But the fact is that Mr. Harris, he's retired brigadier general, garnered 37% of the vote. And yeah, there were 12 Republicans and 5 Democrats that were in. And it was like a straight run. It was the Democrat Harris, and then with Fuller, the Moore, and then the other 10 Republicans, I think, followed suit. And then the remaining 4 Democrats were after that. So while Fuller did not win special election victory, Harris won the most votes, 37.3, in a 17 candidate field that included 9 Republicans. It was 12 Republicans, and Harris had to outdistance 2 Democrats. This is a badly written thing here. All right, so we're gonna cancel Christmas on this one. So April 7th. Clay Fuller should be the next congressman out of the 14th congressional district in Georgia, as long as Mr. Moore, what's his first name? I can't find his full name. Well, okay, as long as the third place candidate, which is a strong Republican that receives 11.7% of the vote, as long as he solidly gets behind Clay Fuller, we should have no problem in this election. All right, and we get our number back up 1 number in the House of Representatives. So to go more into that one, what are we doing on time? It's already 12:37. Man. The Georgia special election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress will head to a runoff after none of the candidates in a crowded field choose to receive a majority of voter support. Democrat Sean Harris, a veteran who served in Afghanistan as a combat infantryman, was the top vote getter in a nonpartisan jungle-style race to represent Georgia's 14th congressional district. Harris lost to Greene in the 14th district in 2024, received 41.5% of the vote, and will square off against Republican Clay Fuller in the April 7th runoff. Harris outraised every candidate in the field on Feb. Excuse me. He raised $4.3 million, and he only has $290,000 still in the bank. And Fuller has about $238,000 in the bank. So he raised $787,000 compared to $4.3 million, and lost the initial vote by like 3%. So I don't know. Maybe the Democrats have a playbook on how to spend lots and lots and lots of money with nothing to show for it. Fuller, who was endorsed by President Trump, was the top performing Republican in the race, where several GOP candidates split the vote. The Air National Guard officer and district attorney received 33.5% of the vote in the solidly red district because they split the vote amongst all 12 Republicans. I am proud to have kept my word to run on my record and vision on how I want to represent the district. Fuller, who had pledged to run a positive campaign, wrote on X on the election day. He added, "If I can't win on my record, then I don't need to win. I have not paid for a single ad talking about a fellow Republican because that's not how I want to compete. Fuller, who raised, again, I just told you all about that part. A handful of recent withdrawals trimmed the field of active contenders to 17 by Election Day. And then firebrand Colton Moore, that's the name I was looking for, garnered the second most votes among Republicans, but fell short to advance to the April 7th round. Dude, he actually thought that he was close. He had 11.7, and Mr. Fuller had 34%. He didn't come close at all. Moore, self-described rhino wrangler, was infamously shoved to the ground and arrested in the Georgia House chamber last year after attempting to enter during Governor Brian Kemp's State of the State address. And a firebrand, GOP firebrand like Green, Moore has previously been barred from the chamber due to blistering 2024 remarks about late House Speaker David Ralston. But Moore received more than 10% of the vote. He needs to immediately endorse Fuller and just get it over with. All right. So, if you're just wondering, we spent a lot of time on Georgia so far. Well, let me go ahead and that one. 5-0. We talked about that. Okay, so we talked about the vote results. So really probably don't need to expand on this one anymore. It looks like the Democrat carried the early vote, and the Republicans waited for Election Day to go vote. That's exactly what it looks like. Harris got 43% of the early vote compared to 32% for Fuller. And then on Election Day, Fuller got 38% of the Election Day votes, and Harris only got 31% of the Election Day votes. Republicans need to learn they got to swallow their pride, and when there's early voting, they need to go early vote. Anything can happen. I mean, like in Tarrant County, we had an ice storm, and it prevented people from going to vote. But if they would have early voted, most of them would have already been to the vote, and the vote would have counted. All right. So, where am I at? We're at 12:43, and I'm barely making it through here. The president is going to be in that area of the country anyway today, right? And before I forget, if you're watching this, please click that follow button and give me a like, and then also engage us with the chat. We got a total of 3 different people: me, Rob, and Richard in the chat right now. All right. So the president left this morning to go to Ohio and Tennessee. He's going to Hebron, Tennessee, which is the home area of Thomas Massie. He's libertarian. He doesn't like the president. At least he votes the vast majority of the time with the Republicans. That's great. He's doing that, but he's being challenged, and I think the president, I bet by the time we get done today, the president will issue an endorsement. It says here, President Donald Trump has taken his feud with Thomas Massie to the Libertarian lawmakers' home turf on Wednesday. Trump is expected to hold an event in Hebron, Kentucky on Wednesday. The Republican Party of Kentucky announced on social media Monday. That was only 2 days ago. It's located in the northern part of the state's 4th congressional district, which Massie represents. Massie's primary rival, Ed Galrine, will attend the Hebron event. His campaign confirmed with Fox News on Tuesday, while deferring all other questions of the matter to the White House. Massie himself will miss the event due to previously scheduled official engagement his spokesperson told Fox. When asked about the visit, White House spokesman Liz Huston told Fox News President Trump will visit the great state of Ohio and Kentucky on Wednesday and tout his economic victories and detail his administration's aggressive, ongoing efforts to lower prices and to make America more affordable. The president has thrown his considerable influence behind Goreen to unseat Massie after the GOP lawmaker publicly defied Trump on multiple occasions. You mean several, not just multiple. Massie Massie most recently was one of the two Republicans in the House to vote to stop Trump's joint operation in Iran with Israel, though the legislation was successfully blocked by the majority of GOP lawmakers and a handful of Democrats. He is also one of two Republicans to vote against Trump's big, beautiful bill last year. Trump, in turn, hurled a slew of personal attacks against Massie, calling him weak and pathetic, endorsing Goreen in October. He only votes against the Republican Party, making life very easy for the radical left. Unlike lightweight Massie, a total ineffective loser who has failed us so badly, Captain L. Goreen is a winner who will not let you down, Trump posted on Truth Social at the time, one of numerous criticisms targeting Kentucky Republican through the years. He called Massie the worst Republican congressman in July amid Massie's bipartisan push to force the Department of Justice to release the files of Jeffrey Epstein. But Massie has so far appeared to defy political gravity despite making political enemies out of both Trump and House GOP. He handily defeated primary challengers in 2024 and 2022 despite public feuds with Trump and has served his district since 2012. Goreen is a retired Navy SEAL and farmer who launched his campaign just days after Trump. I think Thomas Massie's days are numbered. Rob just says, Iran aspires to attack California with drones. Can you explain that one a little bit more? Is that California or Canada? I'm reading in the chat right now from Rob. Give him a chance to type that one out. All right, so we're at 12:48. We're still doing good. There's a spat going on. If I see something, I'll tell you what he's saying in just a second. In the Supreme Court, Justice Jackson and Justice Kavanaugh, California. So Iran aspires to attack California with drones. Okay. Supreme Court. Wow, I would like to see that flight path. Supreme Court Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson and Brett Kavanaugh. The FBI told. Okay, to clarify, the FBI issued that out, right? So the Supreme Court Justices Jackson and Kavanaugh had a dispute over the High Court's approach to the emergency docket in a rare, candid discussion during an event Monday night. Jackson, a Biden appointee, signaled at the High Court's willingness to side with President Donald Trump most of the time when it comes to emergency docket, sometimes known as the shadow docket, was a problem. The liberal justice is one of three, and all have frequently sided with Trump in emergency decisions, which have often broke 6-3 in favor of the president. The administration is making a new policy, and it is insisting a new policy to take immediately before the challenge is decided, Jackson said. According to reports, man, I keep getting hammered by stuff. Iran out of FIFA World Cup to stop President Trump's welcome. Okay. So the Iranians are not playing in the World Cup inside the United States in a couple months. Kavanaugh, a Trump appointee, countered that the Supreme Court approach to emergency requests was not unique to the president's administration and that the High Court handled the Biden administration the same way despite being fewer interim requests under the former president. Kavanaugh said presidents push the envelope more with executive orders because Congress is passing less legislation. Some are lawful, some are not, Kavanaugh said, adding, none of us enjoys this. The pair spoke in a courtroom during an annual lecture honoring the late Judge Thomas Flannery of the U.S. District Court of Washington, D.C., while several federal judges, including high-profile ones like Judge James Boasberg, looked on. All right, so like Kavanaugh said, when it comes to the emergency docket, usually if you're the president, regardless of what party you're in, you usually get ruled in favor of the emergency decision, which is like a temporary stay until the original case could be seen through the court, right? So she just needs to pipe down. She's a brand new justice, and he's almost brand new, but he's very well experienced when it comes to the matters of the court. I remember when Brett Kavanaugh was the staff secretary for President Bush when I was working through the White House. So his name goes way back. All right. So where are we at? We're at 12:52. We're going all right. Let's see. We'll talk about the SAVE Act a little bit. All right. So Representatives Fine, Self, Harris, enough is enough. Will block the Senate until the SAVE Act passes. Wednesday marks 1 month since House Republicans took a bold stand in the soul of our democracy by passing America First. This common sense legislation requires proof of citizenship to vote and voter ID. Basic measures any American can support, yet in the marble halls of the Senate, Majority Leader John Thune, Republican South Dakota, is playing games, refusing to even bring the bill to the floor for debate. Enough is enough. It's time for House Republicans to draw a line in the sand. We are prepared to vote no on any Senate legislation until the upper chamber stops dragging their feet and passes the Save America Act. Let's be clear about what's at stake. In an era when our elections are under constant threat from fraud, illegal votes, and shadowy influences, the Save America Act isn't just policy, it's a lifeline for the Republic. Requiring proof of citizenship ensures that only American voices shape America's future. Voter ID, that's not controversial, it's essential. We've seen the chaos in states without these safeguards. Ballots cast by non-citizens, dead voters, mysteriously rising from the grave and harvesting unquestionable mail-in ballots, and the power to tip the scales in favor of the radical left. The American people know this. I've heard so many jokes in life about dead voters. A whopping 71% of Americans support these election integrity reforms, not just conservatives, that's independents, moderates, and even some Democrats. In an era when our elections are under constant threat from fraud, legal votes, and shadowy influences, the SAVE Act isn't just policy, it's the lifeline of the Republic. While Americans demand a real reaction to secure our elections, Senate Republicans are twiddling their thumbs, feet on feel-good stuff that would make a circus clown blush. In the past month, they've found their time to pass a resolution celebrating Mardi Gras dog walking parade in the Senate. And the Republican majority can and must do better. Just last week, the House passed John Thune's Tribal Trust Land Home Ownership Act. Dozens of House conservatives voted no because it's outrageous and that they're fast-tracking niche bills while election integrity reforms are stalled in the Senate. If they can't muster the spine for real issues, why reward their inaction? What just happened? Hold on just a second, guys. Wow, Kenyon West, former handyman, wins payout in Malibu mansion jury trial. But I got a text message. Oh, okay. President said we're not finished yet against Iran. Okay. NCIS episode mentions former character Abby. Oh, okay. All right. So back. All right. So I want to continue this. I got some ideas. All right. What are we at? 12:56. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Just a couple other things I want to discuss real quick. I did talk about the Seventh U.S. Court of Appeals. It was a 2-1 decision, negating even the appeal uh, for a federal judge that tried to get involved in an immigration debate. And the Seventh Court of Appeals said she overstepped her bounds and overruled her. That the judge that got overruled wrote a 233-page response to that, and it's called an opinion, but 233 pages. It dealt with Operation Midway Blitz with Chicago last year. The president went ahead and withdrew the National Guard troops, but yeah, she lost. So and then so I'm going to talk about some more of the safe stuff for a few minutes when we go premium. All right, Valerie Jarrett, she earned. Okay, so you know that big monstrosity of a presidential library is being built in Chicago right now. So that's like almost $1 billion. Um, so Valerie Jarrett earned in 2024. I'm in the wrong line of work. I tell you that. That lady earned $740,000 in 2024. So it said as construction nears completion of the long-delayed $850 million Obama Presidential Center, federal tax earnings show the Obama Foundation paid Valerie Jarrett $740,000 in 2024, while several former Obama White House officials collected six-figure salaries as the foundation executives. The Obama Foundation, which operates the 19.3-acre center in publicly owned Chicago parkland, said its CEO more than any other presidential foundation. Salaries and benefits soared from $18.5 million in 2018 to $43 million in 2024. Its staffing expanded to 337 employees, and annual revenue reached $210 million. Jarrett, one of Obama's closest advisors, took over as CEO in 2021 and is among 6 of the foundation's 10 highest paid executives who previously held senior roles in the Obama administration or campaign, according to the review of the foundation's taxes filings in 2018 to 2024. Wow, that is unbelievable. Okay, so what do y'all think about that? Go go back up. There we go. All right. So the time is now, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer this over to premium so we can all talk freely. All right. So if you haven't, I haven't had enough people on there to be able to do an ad read for Rumble Rumble Premium. But if you're not already a Rumble Premium member, go to rumble.com/premium and then use the code word studio. All right. I know I didn't get paid for that one, but let's do this so you can listen to premium content. All right. Bruce Blakeman calls for public apology. Hochman stated probe of New York City's First Lady Rama Jawaji anti-Semitic rhetoric. Yeah, she just needs to leave the country. Okay, so that being said, I will catch the rest of y'all non-premium members tomorrow morning at 6:30 for the morning brief and at 12 o'clock for the JP8 report, which is what I'm doing right now. And then this afternoon, I'm going to interview Howard Airy for Harker Heights mayor. So we'll have some more content to be able to put out also. All right. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to transition to premium. So please stand by. There we go. Update stream.